My friends, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Sober Living channel. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. What I love to do on this channel is I love to just give tips, hope, and advice to any addict out there struggling with active addiction, letting them know that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a way to recover from addiction. Guys, today I am celebrating 350 days sober. I am so grateful for all of the people in my life who have been there to support me and wish me well every day. I'm grateful to you guys for keeping me in the game and keeping me accountable. And I really enjoy doing YouTube. I really enjoy being able to talk to you guys, and I'm really enjoying getting your emails and helping out. It makes me feel very good. So today, I just wanted to talk about my cancer. So, that's one thing that I didn't talk about too much in my addiction story because it was before my addiction. My addiction actually started right after my cancer. So I'd like to just open up about that. So I remember all of this. My brain damage did not affect the memories of my cancer or the treatments or procedures that I got during my cancer. Which is unfortunate. If I could forget anything, it would definitely be that, But either way. So, how did my cancer start? So my cancer started when I was about, I'd say 15 to 16 years old. And first of all, let me say, I had bone cancer. I don't know the scientific name for it. I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know science that well. But I had bone cancer, and it affected my orbital bone, and it affected the bottom of my jaw here, and the cancer also went into my sinus. So that sucked. But the way that it started was I had tremendous pain with my wisdom teeth, and I was 16. It was around the time where people my age were getting their wisdom teeth taken out. So I remember going into my dentist's office. He was a new dentist. This is the first time I had seen him, and I said, "Doc, I need you to give me pain medication because I am in a tremendous amount of pain." And the doctor said, "Listen, Kai, hold on, you're a new patient and you're 16. I'm not just going to give you pain medication because you asked me for it. So let's do an x-ray and see what's going on." So he did an x-ray, and when he came back into the room, his whole demeanor was different. He looked like he had seen a ghost. And he said, "Hey, Kai, have you felt your face recently?" And I said, "No, why would I feel my face? It's not something that, I sit down and do, just feel my face, right?" And he said, "Well, if you feel here, there's a large, growth there." And then I felt it, and I realized, and you can still see on camera that this side of my face is much more swollen than this side of my face is. So he took an x-ray, and basically it was a big tumor. And it was a tumor. So we went down to Princess Margaret Hospital, which is the premier cancer hospital in all of Canada. It's the best. That's where you go if you're in British Columbia, or if you're in wherever you are in Canada. The best place in Canada, Princess Margaret. So I was there, and they figured out my procedures and everything, and I had the tumor removed, and I also had all these teeth removed so they could get access to it. And luckily it wasn't cancerous, and I was really glad. Obviously you'd be glad. But then a year later it came back. And they removed it. And then a year later it came back, and they removed it again. And it just so happened, this is the weirdest thing. This is the weirdest thing. I ended up having 4 surgeries in 5 years. And every one of the surgeries landed up on my birthday, or my birthday weekend, which was very, very strange. But yeah, so they kept doing these. These tumors kept popping up like yearly. They would remove them. They'd say no, there's no cancer in them. But then eventually, one of them did have cancer, and by the time, even though like at this point I was going to the hospital for regular checkups like twice a month, I had to get this scope put up my nose. It was absolutely horrific. But I was going to the hospital like very often. So when it pops back up, they can catch it again quickly. So they did catch it quickly, but somehow, even though they were checking on it so fast, the cancer had already destroyed a large part of my orbital bone and my sinus, and it had already started eating away at the at like the joint of your jaw, like where it joints. And I had to have immediate like emergency surgery, you know, and that was a big surgery. That wasn't just cutting, because what they would do is they would just, because now I don't have any teeth here, what they would basically do is they would just cut into the top of the gum and pull the tumor out, right? But now the tumor had gotten all over my eye, it had gotten all over the place, so they had to do a surgery where they cut me open starting from up here, and it went down my face up to here, up into the corner of my eye, and then down my nose here, and then down my lip here, and then down here. So they would have had to peel back this entire section of my face, and it was gruesome. I think the surgery was like 14 hours or something like that. It was a very long surgery, and I said it in an earlier video, but the way that they reconstructed the bone was they actually took out a big piece of my shoulder. So you can see that I've got a scar that goes all the way down here, because that's where they went in and they took a big piece of my shoulder blade out, and then they reconstructed it and put it in my face, and there you go. So the surgery was, well, I don't remember it because I was under. But I'll tell you one thing about the surgery and about my recovery during it. It was horrific. It wasn't bad. It was horrific. Because I had facial surgery or bone cancer in my face, I was in the head and neck ward. So I was there with people that just had major surgery on their face and their neck. So in more of my spooky story video series, I'll open up a bit more about some of the things that I saw there. But I just want to say it was a very traumatizing period of my life. To the point where I still have PTSD episodes from it, and I take a medication called Paracetin, which is supposed to help with nightmares related to PTSD. It helps a bit, but it doesn't help as much as it should. That being said, some horrible things happened while I was recovering. My biggest thing was, after having so many surgeries on the top of my mouth, I had lost a lot of saliva glands. So you'll notice, you might not notice, but I always have a water bottle with me because my mouth gets dry very, very fast. And one of my biggest worries going into this surgery was, when I wake up from my surgery, will I be able to drink water? Because for 24 hours leading up to the surgery, I wasn't allowed to drink water or eat, which is standard for a surgery. But the problem was, with my lack of saliva glands already, it was incredibly hard for me to just go that 24 hours. So I asked them, please, when I wake up, am I going to be able to drink water when I wake up? And they said, yes, don't worry, you will be able to drink water when you wake up. They absolutely lied to me. They lied to me 100%. And I mean, good on them. What are they going to say right before my surgery? You're about to go into surgery, and by the way, you're not getting anything. You know what I mean? Obviously, they're going to say something to make you feel better, but what happened was, because of the surgery that I had, and because of the amount of plastic surgery that I had, the inside of my mouth was basically glued to the top of my mouth. So if there was any liquids in my mouth, it could screw up the bond. And so in my mind, I'm just imagining taking a sip of water and having my palate just fall down, you know? So I wasn't allowed to drink water for 7 days. And I said to the doctor, I said, what do you mean I'm not allowed to drink water for 7 days? Like, how is that even humanly possible? And it was because I had intravenous tubes. Yeah, that was really horrible. So basically, I woke up and I was furious. I was so furious because I didn't have my water. I didn't really understand what was going on. Everybody lied to me. I was furious and I was so thirsty. And I couldn't calm down from being so angry, you know, because I had been lied to. I had just gone through this traumatic surgery. My face was swollen, like hanging out like to here. It was horrible. And not only that, but now I had like a long hospital stay ahead of me because of my recovery. I also had a feeding tube in my nose. And the only way that I could eat was through a feeding tube. I should also mention that while I had that surgery, they broke my jaw because the cancer had destroyed part of my jaw, and they had to break it to reconstruct it. So I'm waking up with just my head being out of commission, right? And my emotions were going through the roof, and I was not myself at all. There was a point where I thought truly, and this is the only time in my life where I felt this, and it's a very scary feeling, but I felt that I was truly, truly about to die if I didn't get help. And the reason I felt like this was because I had a feeding tube in, right? But I also had the driest throat on earth because I couldn't drink. So every time I would breathe or swallow, my feeding tube will get stuck to the side of my esophagus, right? And then it would slowly peel off, and it would be the most horrible thing you can ever imagine. But then, one night, I had thrown up, and this is horrible, but a piece of phlegm I could feel it. A piece of phlegm got stuck kind connecting the feeding tube to my esophagus. It was connecting it, so it was stuck there, and I was choking on it. And they gave me a wand that I could kind of maneuver, like clean my mouth out with, kind of, but it wasn't long enough to get all the way down there to suck that up. So I spent the entire day, must have been 14 hours, just standing there in front of a mirror, trying my best to get this and not immediately throw up. It was absolutely horrible. But then what happened was I became exhausted. Absolutely exhausted. I was falling asleep doing this. And I started to panic. Because I thought that if I fell asleep, surely I would choke to death and I would die. And I remember I went up to the nurse's station. And I was having such a bad panic attack that I couldn't speak, and she gave me a piece of paper to write on, and I tried to write on it, and it was just scribbles. And I remember freaking out so much, and then I remember the doctors coming and grabbing me and giving me a needle, and then the next thing I remember was waking up in my hospital bed, throwing up my feeding tube. So what had happened was they didn't listen to what I was saying about the phlegm in my throat. They just sedated me and put me to bed. So I coughed, and I coughed it up, and my feeding tube basically got coiled in my esophagus, right? And when the doctors found out about this, it was a huge emergency thing. And the doctors came into the room, and I'll never forget this. He put my head back on the pillow like this, and he said, "Listen, Kyle, take a deep breath. This is going to be very, very uncomfortable." And then he pulled it out. And you got to remember, feeding tubes are stitched into your nose. So he pulled this whole thing out because I was choking on it, and it was just horrific. Not to mention, after that happened, they had to put the feeding tube back in. So they had to put it back into my nose, and then I had to sit there and swallow over and over again until it got there. It was horrific. And this is on the third day. And at this point, I'm done. I'm done with everything. I was so furious. I couldn't even look in the mirror. I was so full of rage that it was horrible. I treated my nurse, who was Italian, like garbage, just because she was Italian. I have no idea why. Like, I was just angry as hell. And to me, the worst thing that I've ever done, and now I know that my mother forgives me, and I know that it was not in my right mind, but the worst thing that I feel that I've ever done in my life was my mom had come to visit me in the hospital, and she had spent probably 3.5 hours in traffic. And she had finally got all the way up to my room, and right when she got to my room, I was having an argument with my nurse or with my doctor or whatever, and she walked into the room, and I remember just looking at her and saying, "Mom, get the fuck out of my room right now. Get out. Get out. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to see anybody until I can drink water again. Get out now." And she left. And to me, it's still very hard for me to forgive myself. Luckily, I have forgiven myself. She's forgiven me. It was because of it was because of what I was going through. It wasn't who I was. It's not who I am. But it is something that has stuck with me. And Mom, I know you're in heaven and you're probably not watching my YouTube channel, but I'm sorry. But yeah, so after that, I was in the hospital for another, I think, 6 or 7 weeks, and that's about it, really. When I got out of the hospital, I went home, recovered at home. My recovery at home was about a year. But I was back to doing normal things again. The one thing that sucked though was my shoulder. I didn't get full mobility back into my shoulder for about 2 or 3 years. Maybe a year. No, like 2 or 3 years. But that's about it. The cancers never came back, which is great. I still have surgeries that I have to do. Like there's another plastic surgery that I have coming up in the next probably six months to a year. I'm having another plastic surgery to just kind of make this a little less noticeable. Also to kind of fix my lip a little bit. So hopefully I won't look too different for you guys. But other than that, I just wanted to let you guys know about my cancer and how I survived it, and that's about it, really. I felt really bad because when I got cancer, I was actually really relieved because I wanted to be the one person in my family who had cancer, so my mom didn't have to have cancer, or my dad, you know, but you're always looking out for your mom, you know. Of course you look out for your dad, but I basically felt like if I have cancer, then the odds of my mom and dad and sister having cancer are much less because I have it. In the end, my mom ended up dying of cancer, which is unfortunate, but again, I believe that she's in heaven, so that's just my belief. Guys, thank you. I filmed a long video today where I did a tour of my area, but I'm not too sure if I like how it turned out. Let me know if you guys want to see a tour of my area, of where I live. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking by and making it to the end of the video. If you made it to the end of the video, I have great news for you. I am doing a special giveaway for my October 5th 1-year anniversary. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do yet, but I am going to do something cool. So keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be special, and it'll be open to everybody who watches the channel. Guys, I really appreciate you watching. I'm still doing the 250 subscriber giveaway, so once we hit 250 subscribers, I know we can do it. I'm going to be donating to every continent on Earth that has an addiction program, so sorry Antarctica, you're not getting any money from me. Unless you have an addiction program. But other than that, I'll link those videos. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful night wherever you are in the whole wide world. Please be safe. Please be sober. If you're not being sober, please have a ride home. Everybody loves you. Everybody wants to see you wake up tomorrow. Alright, guys? Bye, guys.